All right, so this is part 3. If you haven't, please go back and watch parts 1 and 2. This video will make a lot more sense. Hopefully you get the gist of what I was saying in the previous videos and understanding how all of these codes go together and what they're actually doing. Also, how it ties in to the Wolf and Lupercalia in Philadelphia and whatnot. So Allen Iverson adds up to 56. In high school, college, and the NBA, he wore the number 3. The word 3 adds up to 56. I talked about the Philadelphia connection before. But when he was in high school, he got arrested and actually sentenced to 15 years in prison, but they suspended it to 5 years. It was after he had played basketball for 3 seasons. But what's interesting about it, it was the date and everything. So February 14th, so Valentine's Day 1993. And of course, Valentine's is the second day of Lupercalia. Anyway, what happened was they were at a bowling alley and there was this big brawl that broke out or whatever. And they made it out to seem like it was white people versus black people, and all that. And on the documentary that just came out in May this year, I'd show it, but I'll get a copyright strike, and then it's pointless to have this video. But I think they said there was like 70 people there, and somehow only 4 black kids got in trouble for it, and Allen Iverson just so happened to be one of them. And then he even got sentenced to 15 years with 10 years suspended, but he ended up only serving 4 months, and I'll get to that in a second. But he was only 17 at the time, and they waited so they could convict him as an adult as well. But what's interesting, so bowling alley in Gematria adds up to 56. He was 17 years old. 17 adds up to 55. Even this year will be the 23rd anniversary in 2016. 23 equals 55. What's interesting, because Allen Iverson equals 56. He wore the number 56. Bowling alley equals 56. In the documentary, they claim that they were just there bowling, having a good time, and then all of a sudden, it just broke down like crazy, which may be true, but it just seems kind of interesting, almost like it was a setup, or they had already chosen Allen Iverson, and they waited for him to go to a bowling alley because it fit the gematria of the story. I mean, why else would Allen Iverson and only 3 other black kids get in trouble for it? It doesn't make any sense. It really was a conspiracy. They even say that in the video. And funny, because of this video where they say that, what he got charged with was maiming by mob. In the small way, it adds up to 60, a number that is associated with these 55s I talked about previously, and also 123, just like the word conspiracy. Also, the name of the bowling alley was called Circle Lanes. Circle Lanes adds up to 56. Also, it adds up to 101, just like Philadelphia. I mean, come on, what are the odds? Allen Iverson, 56, wore number 3, 56. Arrested at a bowling alley, 56. And the bowling alley was even called Circle Lanes, that adds up to 56. And remember, so he wore number 3, and I talked about the 3s in Philadelphia and whatnot, but Iverson, and that juvenile, Iverson, and 2 adults are charged with 3 counts each of malicious wounding by mob for allegedly participating in a brawl at a Hampton bowling alley. 3 people were injured in the attack. So they all got charged with 3 counts of a malicious whatever, and only 3 people were injured in the attack. I mean, give me a break. Funny how on Wikipedia, too, it talks about the prison sentence forced him to complete his senior year of high school at Richard Milburn High School, blah, blah, blah. However, the 3 years Iverson spent there were enough to convince Georgetown University head coach John Thompson to come out and meet Iverson, blah, 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 blah. So they mentioned that, once again, the number 3. So he got 3 counts of malicious acts. 3 people were injured. It was after his 3rd year of high school. He wore number 3, and the number 3 adds up to 56. It even shows his prison sentence here, 15 years with 10 years suspended. So, I mean, that means he got 5 years, right? 5 years adds up to 56 even. So this must have been a pretty big story way back in the day. I mean, I was a little kid. I don't remember it. But I even read somewhere where they said something about it was just as big of a deal as like something to do with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and it was a big old race story. Whatever. But what's interesting about it is that while he was in prison, he got interviewed by Tom Brokaw for the NBC Nightly News or whatever. He even told TMZ that Tom Brokaw was key in his NBA career. Because probably if it wasn't for Tom Brokaw, he would have never got out. He would have had to serve that whole 5 years, but instead he only ended up having to serve 4 months. Now, he was either part of it at that time even, or what happened was when he went to prison and they set him up, they said, you can either stay in prison or you're going to listen to us and you're going to do everything we say pretty much. You're going to be our little slave. We're going to make you successful. And, coming from a poor family and whatever else, he probably accepted it, became a star, whatever, just like everybody else. They sell out for the money. And the messed up thing is these people just love to code these numbers into everything. I mean, Tom Brokaw even adds up to 56. I mean, it's so rigged, and I can't believe that so many people could not see it. It's insane. Also, just interesting, he was 17 years old when this happened, and he played 17 NBA seasons, so just something to think about. Also, Allen Iverson was born in the year 1975. I've seen a lot of 75 stuff dealing with this. Tom Brokaw is 75 years old this year. Philadelphia, even located on 75 degrees west, 39 degrees north. Just a very interesting location, especially when I've talked about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King both dying at the age of 39. Obama maybe being assassinated could be the perfect spot for it. And there's other 75s. I'll mention them towards the end. I just want to keep on this 56 because there's a ton of 56 around Allen Iverson. So, he gets out of jail. He gets a chance at Georgetown or whatever. They take a chance on him. But the interesting thing about this is Georgetown, of course, is in Washington, D.C. And I'm pretty sure I already showed this before, but Washington, D.C. adds up to 56. Just like where Abraham Lincoln died and whatnot. And the interesting thing about Georgetown is that it's the oldest Catholic and Jesuit institution of higher education in the United States. I've just mentioned Jesuit a lot lately. A lot of things have tied to the Jesuits, and Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. Also founded by this guy, John Carroll. His name in gematria just interests me because it adds it to 126. This is a number that is associated with the 56s. 5-6, May 6th, is the 126th day of the year. Even 56 days, depending on what month it is, it can be 1 month, 26 days. There was some other stuff with it. I had mentioned it in previous videos. Just wanted to point it out really quick. Also, when you look at their basketball team, they have this, their symbol is the big old G, the big old Masonic G that equals 33 in Francis Bacon gematria, where A through Z is 1 through 26, and then everything after that is 27 through 52, so G would be 33. And it just stands out, because you got Patrick Ewing right here. Patrick Ewing and Allen Iverson are the only two people from Georgetown to be the number 1 pick in the draft. So here's a list of them all here, but Patrick Ewing was even drafted the same year that Hot Rod Williams was drafted. Just found that kind of interesting. Even born on 8/5, drafted number 1 in the year 85. I'm sure I could find tons more on him, but I want to stick to the Allen Iverson for now. And here's Iverson in 96, so 11 years difference. The only 2 number 1 picks from Georgetown. Also, Iverson was drafted with like Kobe Bryant. And I've just mentioned so much about Kobe Bryant over the last year. He's just super coded to a lot of this. But anyway, Iverson left Georgetown to go to the NBA after his sophomore season. Sophomore season adds up to 65, the mirror of 56, just like Philadelphia the small way, 65. I also forgot to mention that his coach, Iverson's coach in high school, his name's Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey adds up to 56. Allen Iverson, even before he was drafted, he signed with Reebok. In 96 here. So interesting. Reebok adds up to 56. Also, and they mentioned that in the documentary. They show it in that documentary that I'm talking about, the one on Showtime. But they even show in that documentary that he was the first guard drafted #1 in the draft since Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson adds up to 56. He is 56 years old. Even his real name's Irvin Johnson, which adds up to 65, just like Philadelphia. He's even coded, with the Charlie Sheen stuff, dealing with the HIV. But, I just wanted to show you here that it's true. Magic Johnson, guard. There's no more guards until Allen Iverson. Which also interesting is a span of 17 years. Remember, Iverson went to prison when he was 17, and he played in the NBA for 17 seasons. And 17 adds up to 55. The word 56 adds up to 55 if you read it out as a word. So Iverson signs with the Sixers. This guy is the coach, Johnny Davis, on his rookie season. Interesting, he's born in the year 55, age 60. I've talked a lot about the numbers 60 and 55 being mirrored years. 1955, 60 years ago. 1960, 55 years ago. Lots to do with it. Moses Malone died at the age of 60, but 76ers even adds up to 60. But what happens is, the next season, they fire this guy, and they hire Larry Brown. Interesting that they would hire a guy named Larry Brown, considering Larry Brown adds up to 56. It's just so ridiculous. The guy's even 75 years old. I talked about that a little bit before. But then later on, they have an interview where Allen Iverson is complaining about, you're talking to me about practice, whatever. Practice even adds up to 75. Also, I forgot to mention Johnny Davis here. Look, he was drafted in the year 1976. So this was Iverson's first coach. Drafted in the year 76. Selected by the Portland Trail Blazers. 76-77 was the year that the Trail Blazers played the 76ers in the NBA Finals. So he won the Rookie of the Year and all that, but his biggest standout year or whatever was the 2001 season. 2000-2001 season, he won the NBA Most Valuable Player Award. He also won the MVP of the All-Star Game. And interesting about this season, it was the 55th season of the NBA. And of course, he led the Sixers to a 56-26 record in the Eastern Conference that season. Interesting too, this was also the year they lost to the Lakers in the NBA Finals. So once again, the connection to Kobe Bryant. Want to point out too, something to watch out for. Dikembe Mutombo joined that team as well this year in February of that year, and he wore number 55. Number 55 has been a death number this year, a retirement number. But Aaron McKie was the NBA's sixth man. He also played for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he also played for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he was the 17th overall pick in the draft. That all ties into Allen Iverson and all these people dying. Portland Trail Blazers, 76ers, and sixth man. This guy, who knows? But his name even adds up to 55. So, a guy to watch out for. Interesting also, dealing with the 17 is Allen Iverson's 56th career NBA game. They played the Timberwolves, and he also scored 17 points. Just seems kind of interesting. He was also age 21 when he joined the NBA. He has 21 tattoos, 21 a number associated, not only with Kevin Garnett and the Timberwolves stuff, but also to Philadelphia 2-1 February 1st. There's 333 days left until the end of the year. It's also Gregorian to Julian. It is the same day as the first day, or it's the same day as Valentine's Day. And remember, the Super Bowl was on 2-1 last year. It was all about celebrating the wolf. They also celebrate, it's the wolf and the dogs or whatever. Interesting, the Hoyas are dogs now that I think about it. And the 76ers' new mascot as of this year was Franklin the dog. Just interesting, but I'm going to make one more part, so see you there.